testimonies of the interventions that they have done and how they've been able to move them to a place of stability and empowerment. We will hear from TISA and their efforts to address the unfair tax regimes that affect micro and small businesses, as well as from ASEPA and the insights into the emerging climate sector and the opportunities and the legislative actions that need for us to have gender-responsive policies that can help turn things around. So we will share what works for women's economic empowerment. I want to remind us that investing in women is not only a moral imperative, they make up over half of the population, but it is an economic necessity. So together we can absolutely create a more inclusive and equitable world. And so let this conversation show us how together we can contribute to making women thrive and contribute to Kenya's overall development. Women remain an engine, an untapped engine for economic recovery, and we must make sure that we make that push so that we begin this turnaround. Thank you for listening to me. Allow me at this time to please welcome the Deputy Governor of the Central Bank, Dr. Susan Koech, to make her remarks. Welcome, Daktari. And when Dr. Koech is done, she will invite our chief guest. Oh, I come down first.
The PS for Gender and Affirmative Action, Honorable Anne Wangombe, Executive Director for Crown Trust, Daisy Amdanyi, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Good morning. I'm happy to join you this morning to be able to execute an important conversation, a conversation about what works for women. And, you know, I think it has been said, women in our country make up 50% of the population. And so it's important that we be able to have a conversation on what can we be able to do to be able to have every person in our republic to participate in the economic activities. I'm here on behalf of the chairman of the board of directors of the Central Bank of Kenya, Mr. Andrew Musangi, and I appreciate Crown Trust for extending your invitation to him. We do note that besides being one of the Sustainable Development Goals, that's the SDG 5, gender equality and women's empowerment plays a central role in the achievement of the other SDGs, such as inclusive economic growth and productivity employment, that is SDG 8. Research studies and historical evidence have shown that promoting gender equality promotes economic growth, poverty eradication, and better social outcomes. This forum, whose theme is What Works for Women's Economic Empowerment, is therefore timely and fundamental as it propagates evidence-based solutions towards addressing gender inequality. We know that we've done a lot of progress, especially in our country, to the extent that we have the kind of laws that are supposed to set the stage for having women on the conversation in every sector, be it on the social space, be it on the economic space, be it on the political space, and more importantly, even in driving the economy in the public sector. With that even having been done, research, which Daisy actually referred to, shows that 43.1% of operational micro and MSMEs are female-owned. And also research has shown us that most women actually participate in the agricultural sector, where they tend to participate more on the food crop and subsistence farming, which is very important and critical, especially to make sure that as a country we are food secure. We also, out of our various research, have actually found that through the FinAccess survey, that more women, and if you look at the journey for FinAccess in our country, it has improved from the time when mobile money came into being. Currently, we are having 84.1% of women who are actually financially included. And the conversation that should be here should be able to drive us not to talk about financial access, but about financial usage, about the financial quality, and then more importantly about financial impact, because that is then how we can be able to sort the issue around financial health. Because at 84.1% of women being financially included, we are in a space where we sit pretty well globally. But then the conversation changes when we start looking at the usage. How many women in Kenya, especially in the rural areas, are able to participate fully, are able to access financial solutions, and also are able to participate in economic activities that will ultimately make them to have the power to utilize the financial services. So let's turn the conversation going forward to usage and impact, because that is where then we can be able to do better. Because then we can then look at what are these challenges that women are facing in their path to economic process. And one of them will be issues around limited access to finance. Whereas we know, and out of research, that more women are participating in MSMEs, the question is how many are able to access finance, and where even they access, what will be the costs. The second issue that is a challenge to most women is the lack of skills and low education levels. Financial literacy is very key and important, because then how can a woman running an MSME or running her own, farming activity be able to understand and work out on simple bookkeeping? Because then they will be able to know that out of my business, these are the income and my expenditure is here, and this is the net effect of my business. We want them to be able to do simple profit and loss accounts. The third challenge is where we see that more women are actually not paid for the work and care they do. Because out of research which was done by KNBS, it shows that women will always devote about 5.2 hours per day to unpaid care, while male will devote only 1.5 hours per day to the same activity. This actually time constraints then inhibits women's ability to engage in formal jobs, entrepreneurial initiatives, and other income-generating activities. And just then to come to what we have been able to do at the Central Bank of Kenya, for us to be able to foster access to credit and financial services to not only women, but every other Kenyan, especially at the lowest end of the pyramid, is we've had a number of initiatives. And these initiatives include, one, the digital financial services, where we are now regulating this space. And as I said, majority of Kenyans are accessing financial services and financial credit through the mobile channels. Secondly is the aspect of the credit information sharing mechanism, because then through that and through having the ability to have your credit history, then the issue of having to depend largely on collateral when you want security is supposed to be taken care of, because where you're able to take a facility and be able to religiously pay the facility as expected of you, then financial institutions are supposed to use that data which they have to be able to advance credit, and so, be able to handle or tackle the issue that hinders most women, which is lack of traditional collateral to be able to access credit. The third thing that we have done was, of course, the implementation of the Microfinance Act in 2008, and we know that most women, especially through their chamas, have been able to come together, and we know institutions such as the Kenya Women Finance Trust, which is a deposit-taking microfinance, that have been on the forefront to bring women together through table banking and then be able to access credit. We also, through the establishment of agency banking, brought banking services closer to many Kenyans in the rural areas, because then we had the issue of the rural-urban divide that was making women and also Kenyans in the rural areas not to be banked. They became an underserved population. But through the agency banking, we note that banking has been, taken closer to many, many Kenyans. And more importantly, I recall, and many of you will recall, many years ago, it used to be a journey, during the end month when salaries have been paid, we will know what our parents will do. So every end month, they will take the 5-liter paraffin container, and then they get into the next matatu, then for my parents, they go to Kitale because that was the nearest place for us. That is the day that we know then they will come home later in the evening with paraffin to take us through the month and some shopping. But right now, you can access your banking services on your phone or through your agency banking, who can be someone who is running a kiosk near your home. We have then also been able to reflect on what is it that is happening within the banking industry. And through that reflection, we came up with the Kenya Banking Sector Charter in 2019. And what we are envisaging and propagating for is a banking sector that works for and with Kenyans. It is anchored on 4 pillars, which is customer centricity, risk-based credit pricing, transparency, and ethical banking practices. And the customer centricity pillar focuses on developing financial products that address the unique needs of all customers, including women. And what we have seen out of this is many of our banking institutions have products that are tailored towards women, and these products are designed in a way that even the cost is actually lower than the traditional other products line. So we encourage many women to go to your banks and ask them about this kind of product, as we also encourage the banks to create awareness so that many women can be able to understand and we can be able to increase the uptake of these specific women products for women-led enterprises. In addition, as I conclude, we are also coming up with the National Financial Inclusion Strategy. What we realize is that in our country, we've had really, and we've done exceptionally well, as I said, on the financial inclusion space. However, we didn't have one strategy that brings on board all the actors. What we have been seeing is fragmented strategies by different agencies. But the central bank and other agencies are in the process to develop that strategies, which is anchored on 5 pillars. The first pillar is to deepen access to financial services, which will address barriers to high service costs, lack of infrastructure in rural areas, and low financial literacy. The second pillar is enhancing usage and quality of financial products. This will promote financial services that are user-friendly, affordable, and effective in meeting customer needs. The third pillar is on strengthening consumer protection, financial literacy, and market conduct, because we want a space where, as you utilize your financial services, you utilize it in a space where you are protected as a consumer, where then we don't end up having to pay very high cost. And it's one of the reasons, actually, that we brought into our regulation the digital credit providers, because many Kenyans were complaining on the high cost of credit. The fourth pillar is on developing an inclusive, rural and sustainable green finance market, which is largely to expand the financial services to agriculture, which is a key sector for us, climate finance, and sustainability projects. And the final pillar is on promoting inclusive finance for priority groups. This will ensure financial services are accessible to women, persons with disabilities, youth, MSMEs, and forcibly displaced persons. This strategy seeks to foster financial inclusion while addressing financial inclusion gaps, thereby deepening the usage, quality, and impact of financial services. Pillar 5, which is on promoting inclusive finance, aims to specifically improve access and usage of finance by women in our country. We also continue to make sure that we utilize data-driven insights, which are very critical to enable us to design targeted solutions to enhance women's financial access. And in this regard, we are incorporating gender disaggregated supply side data into financial returns submitted by institution. This will enable the Central Bank of Kenya to better understand and address the unique financial needs and challenges faced by women, thereby informing more effective policy measures to promote gender-inclusive financial inclusion. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish to stop there. I'm wishing you really great deliberations ahead, and I'm hoping that we can be able to continue to engage so that we'll be able to see what are the opportunities that we can be able to tap on to find solutions to women who comprise of over 50% of the population of Kenyans. Thank you so much, and may God bless you. May I now
Give her a bigger round of applause if you say yes to her speech. Thank you so much.
May I now take this opportunity to welcome our chief guest for today, the PS for Gender and Affirmative Action, Honorable Anne Wangombe.
Let's give her another round of applause.
Executive Director, Crown Trust, Ms. Daisy. This name has always given me trouble. Head of Corporation Global Affairs Canada, Ms. Janine Coker. Dr. Susan Koech, Deputy Governor, Central Bank of Kenya. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. When women are economically empowered, they uplift their families, communities, and the entire nations. It is a great honor and a privilege to stand here this morning and discuss issues related to women economic empowerment under the theme, What Works for Women's Economic Empowerment. This is a forum that has brought experts and practitioners together, plus advocates of women economic empowerment. So it is such a great forum. I would like to thank the organizers of this very important event, that is Crown Trust. This is commendable. And we truly appreciate the fact that you found it fit to invite us for this event. As we gather here today, we mark not just a moment of reflection, but also an opportunity for action in the context of the Beijing Platform for Action Plus 30. This is the platform that was adopted back in the year 1995. And maybe you may ask, although I know this is known to you, why we keep making reference to Beijing Plus 30. This is because this is the time that we came up with a global call for action. We came up with a global framework, which was quite comprehensive, a document that 189 countries agreed to adhere to. So in the past, of course, we had other women conferences. We had one in Mexico back in the year 1975. We had a Copenhagen, 1918. We were also bold enough as a country to hold one in Nairobi back in the 1985. But 1995 was a landmark framework for advancing gender equality and the empowerment of women worldwide. So as we celebrate 30 years since the adoption of Beijing Declaration, we take pride in the strides that we have made as a country. There are a number of areas of concern that were identified then, which included education, poverty, health, environment, armed conflict, the media, violence against women, etc. And also, of course, the economic empowerment of women. So today we are going to see where are we as a nation. Clearly, we have made strides. I know a number of times we really kind of hit ourselves so hard, not realizing that as a nation, we are far ahead. We are not yet there, but we have a lot that has been put in place. We are a country that needs to celebrate itself. When we are out there, and quite a number of you, I know you have really traveled, we know very well that many countries benchmark with us because we have really moved ahead in this space. Let's probably look at the gains in women's economic empowerment in Kenya. Over the 30 years, that is the 3 decades that you're talking about, Kenya has made remarkable progress in advancing the economic empowerment of women. Some of the key gains include legal and policy reforms. We have made tremendous strides in enacting policies that support women's economic participation. Notably, of course, is the Constitution of Kenya, 2010, that enshrines gender equality and the right to economic empowerment. The State Department for Gender and Affirmative Action has developed 2 policies. One of them is the National Policy on Women Economic Empowerment, and let me confirm that it has gone through, it has been approved by the Cabinet. And we also have the National Care Policy, which will go a long way in contributing to our country's economic growth through empowering women. Number 2, we have improved access to financial services through initiatives like banking and M-Pesa. Today, women can now save, borrow, and invest with greater ease than before, hence contributing significantly to the economic independence and the growth of MSMEs. You're aware that in the past, women were not allowed to access credit. They could not even open an account without the company of men. These days, we can. Yes. Number 3, we have entrepreneurship growth. According to World Bank, approximately 48% of small and medium-sized enterprises in Kenya are women-owned, highlighting a significant participation of women in the country's entrepreneurial landscape. KNBS, that is Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, reports that over 70% of women in rural areas are involved in micro and small enterprises, largely agriculture, retail, and services. This means that women are increasingly becoming key players in the entrepreneurial landscape. The government's support through National Government Affirmative Action Fund, Women Enterprise Fund, or we also have the Wezo Fund, have increased enabling environments for these businesses to grow. Number 4, we have representation in leadership and decision making. While we admit that there is so much more that needs to be done in this space, we can pride in the fact that we have made major strides in increasing the number of women in decision-making positions. Women can now serve in high offices in government, corporate boards, and civil society organizations. This has increased representation, and this ensures that women's economic interests are addressed at very high levels. It's just like, to me it appears like it's just the other day, 1992, when we only had 6 members of parliament who are women. Today, as we speak, we have 102, both in National Assembly and in the Senate. That is progress. You remember when we had the swearing in of our Deputy President, His Excellency? The podium had women only. Did you notice that? The judiciary is headed by women. I think we need to give ourselves a clap. We have made strides. We are not yet there, but we have really made major strides in this space. When you look at youth and women focus programs, through Crown Trust and other like-minded organizations, a growing number of women, particularly from marginalized communities, are equipped with knowledge, skills, and networks that empower them to actively participate in the economy. Programs aimed at women's education, training, and mentorship have flourished in the last few years. Now, while we celebrate these gains and many others that I have not mentioned, we must also acknowledge that there are significant barriers to women's full economic empowerment. Women in Kenya continue to face challenges such as limited access to capital. We have cultural barriers. We have lack of adequate infrastructure. We have gender-based violence. Particularly in the last couple of months, the country has witnessed increased gender-based violence, including femicide. We also have discriminatory practices even in the workplace. So we still have some challenges, and these are challenges that we will continuously address as a government, as civil societies, as all stakeholders, because we are in this together. Furthermore, women-owned businesses in Kenya, especially within MSME sector, are often constrained by limited market access, poor infrastructure, and low financial literacy. So to ensure that we build on the gains made and address the persistent challenges, I would like to propose the following recommendations to all of us, the stakeholders, the government, the private partners that we have, civil society organizations, NGOs, our partners, development partners. We need to enhance access to finance, tailored financial products, lowered interest rates, and mentorship programs, I suggest should be expanded to ensure that women-led MSMEs can thrive. Number two, we need to build gender-responsive infrastructure, especially in the rural areas. I'm referring to road networks, improving digital infrastructure, and providing reliable access to utilities like water and electricity, which are all essential for women's businesses to function effectively. We may also need to improve on legal frameworks. And like I had mentioned earlier, in this space we have made notable strides in legal reforms, but it's crucial that we strengthen them and we enforce the existing laws so that we can continuously ensure that the women's economic rights are promoted. We also need to promote women's entrepreneurial education in order to thrive in today's competitive market. So let's endeavor to empower women as far as skills are concerned, knowledge, and tools to succeed in this space. We encourage public-private partnerships. We need to deepen that collaboration between the government, the private sector, and the civil society. This way, we are going to create more opportunities for women in business, particularly in sectors such as technology, agriculture, manufacturing, etc., where women's participation has been low traditionally. We also need to strengthen social protection mechanisms like healthcare, childcare, social safety nets, etc. And it's also vital that we put in place robust monitoring and evaluation systems to assess the impact of women's economic empowerment programs. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, as I conclude, As we celebrate Beijing Plus 30, please let's recognize how far we have come as a nation and remain determined to break the remaining barriers to women's economic empowerment. By strengthening our collective efforts, investing in the empowerment of women, and supporting their entrepreneurial ventures, clearly we can create an environment where women are not only contributors to the economy, but they are also recognized as economic powerhouses. I urge all the stakeholders present today, governments, because I know we have people from the government here, businesses, civil society organizations, development partners, and individuals to continue working collaboratively to ensure that the next 30 years are even more successful in empowering women economically and creating a more prosperous and inclusive Kenya. Together, let us work to ensure that what works for women's economic empowerment is accessible to all. I now declare the forum officially opened. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We're just going to take this opportunity to take a picture with you, if you just stay on stage, if that's okay. Can I invite Dr. Susan Koech to just come on stage? Janine, Peter, please just come on stage. Board members, please come on stage. Photographers, be on standby. Board members, Dr. Susan. Peter, please. Yes. I'll go last. No, you'll go up. So it's just picture.
Yes, where is DG? Yes, madam.
Okay.
Squeeze in as best as possible. Go on. I'll have to join as well.
Can somebody take these down?
No, it's okay. It's all right. It's okay. It's okay.
No, because it's blocked.
It's okay. No. DJ, maybe you can play, Edmond, you can play a song or something? So we'll all look at the photographer, the one. Okay.
Is the one who are we looking at?
The main photographer.
Okay.
So I'll just help assist. And then we'll take pictures after. So just to let you know, our main photographer, can you just wave? So we'll all look, and then we'll...
Thank you.
Janine, you can just stay on stage. And just to mention that every gift they have received is made from women-led businesses and locally produced. Yes. So Janine will be next. So we're gonna now listen to Ms. Janine Cocker, Head of Corporation Global Affairs, Canada GAC. Please let's give her a round of applause.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the gift. I think this may be my 5th WEF, and Linda does very good notes for me every single time, but then I disregard them, so I thought this time I'm just gonna wing it. But I do have a few sort of thoughts that I wanted to express, because I think right now this conference and this forum comes at a particularly poignant moment. And it's become more important to do conferences like this. We know that ODA is going down. We know that the effects of COVID on our economy are still very strong. We know that there's more of a leaning towards transactional economic relationships. And so the focus on business and economic growth is the main focus right now. And so Kenya and all of our countries, frankly, need to be able to rise to this occasion and be laser focused on the economy. And I think everybody is, to be honest. But I'd say Kenya and a lot of other countries in this region do have a very secret weapon in this field, and this is really a key to unlock economic growth and reduce barriers, and of course that is women. And right now we know from the research that's being done by the University of Nairobi, by CRON, TISA, that there's strong evidence that shows that the potential of growth if you include women. So it's just a basic common sense argument here to include women. And sadly we know that they're not. And so evidence like this in which we come together, we look at the evidence, we network, we devise ways to advocate are super important because it then can deploy the secret weapon that we have. And I'd say Canada's right here with you on a number of different fronts. We're working with some MPs in both houses, as well as our friends from the Parliamentary Centre and ASEPA, to work on things like startup bills, which remove these hard barriers that we know just prevent women from entering the market and really growing. We're investing in women, small and medium enterprises all over the country. We're supporting unpaid care work. We have a $100 million commitment on that, so that women are effectively remunerated for the work that they do, but also that these kinds of activities that are traditionally women are shared equally. We're working with TVET institutions, so women are moving into areas where we know that there's jobs, where we know that there's economic growth. And of course, we're working on women's leadership networking and advocacy with our Women's Voice in Leadership program. I'd also note that economic empowerment, for the lack of a better word, or what we call it, is also the cornerstone for me for gender equality. A woman cannot escape her abuser. She cannot feed her children. She cannot pay school fees. She cannot pay for health care without money and without her own money. And for so long, she's been prevented from accessing and controlling that money. And we're now here in our 5th year coming up, deploying ways to do all the things that we've done, all the research that we've done to actually move forward on this issue. And I think that's what this conference is about deploying. We know the issues, we have come together, we're actually making strides now with legislation, with actual supporting women's enterprises so that they can be profitable and so that we actually move the needle on this issue. So I'd really just encourage you to share, to learn, to advocate, and to implement. It's up to you. We're here to support you. We're here to be your cheerleader. We're here to advocate for you. But this is your moment, and it's a chaotic moment. But as I keep on hearing, let's not waste a good crisis. And let's show what empowered women can really do to change this moment. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Janine. Let's give her another round of applause. And I want to take this opportunity to invite Mr. Peter Howden, the Director of MENA IGLRP project. Let's give him a round of applause.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm going to try a bit of Swahili. Nafurahia kuwa nanyi hapa. It's so great to be here, and I see some familiar faces around the room, and so I'm very honored to be here, and I'm going to tell you 3 reasons why I'm here. 1, as Director of the Parliamentary Centre of Canada, we are a sponsoring organization of this very, very important conference. Thank you to Daisy Amdani and Cron Trust for all your hard work in preparing for this very important conference where there will be a great meeting of minds. It has always been a pleasure working with you. We all hope that this will create a continual movement for societal change that unlocks opportunities for women in Kenya and beyond. As an important society and democracy for Africa, the women of this great and beautiful country are in the hearts and minds of all Canadians. Secondly, I work with 4 amazing women to run the Inclusive Legislature's Gender Responsive Program, ILGRP. It's a big acronym, but it has a lot to it. So I'd like the 4 amazing women, if you're in the room, I know I see you, Ellie Joy. Is Hope there? Hope, and we also have Priscilla and Jennifer Gitegi, and we all work very closely together to make this project a success. Since 1968, the Parliamentary Centre has worked around the world, and particularly in Kenya, to support parliaments. We are a not-for-profit organization, like many of you here, that implements projects like ILGRP. And we're very proud to be working with our implementing partner, the Africa Centre for Parliamentary Affairs. So thank you, and that's a very important part of the work that we're doing in the Parliamentary Centre. Now, I'd like to tell you a little bit more about our core skill is working from a beneficiary-centered perspective. This is where we facilitate direct-to-citizen engagement and use digital tools that find at the community level those important pathways for unlocking the incredible potential of women to participate in the economy. We work with MPs and citizen organizations to find ways for government legislation, budgets, and policies to truly reach the community and achieve societal change. Recently, we held sessions between MPs and CSOs to make practical recommendations on the blue economy, aquaculture, enterprises, and all relating to providing recommendations for change or recommendations for enhancement of the budget policy statements. The third reason I'm here is because I am a male ally for women's social and economic empowerment. I'm a male ally because from my heart, I am committed to doing anything I can to support women in society. So I'd like the men to stand up in this audience. And I want to see how many men are here. Okay. Wonderful. And I see you, Duncan. There you are. I'll be particularly focusing on Duncan. Duncan, you and I have had some amazing conversations in your important work for women. So I'm going to talk a little bit about you. I hope you don't mind. Okay. In our engagement work, we always ask men to walk in the shoes of women, to experience their journey, to empathize, and then to act on a commitment for change. Maybe you have known an incredible woman you admire, or you maybe have seen or experienced firsthand the powerful or sometimes violent barriers that are placed in their paths. What I can say is I honor you, men and women, in the paths that you need to share together. I wish there were more of you male allies. We need to get more. That is our job too. But please, let us all keep working hard for women. There is one male ally that I've already identified, and it's you, Duncan. Duncan Njoge of the Africa Women's Alliance. Through many meetings and events, we have become good friends. And I've learned much from his wisdom and experience in working at the community level to unlock the potential of women. Thank you so much, Duncan, for all your conversations. There are two reflections I would like to leave you with, and they relate to the work that we've been doing together in the ILGRP. First of all, creating societal change for women is not a political process, nor does it necessarily require a lot of money or budget. There are things that can be done that only take the commitment of time and effort by well-meaning people. Secondly, economic empowerment depends on social change to ensure that women experiencing barriers to participation are released from those powerful and sometimes violent barriers. Especially these women need to recover themselves and be given an opportunity to learn and explore an economic journey that can be so liberating and healing. Another thought is that to run your own business with your own agency does not require necessarily a handout, but rather coaching or community support that builds confidence and skills. Those first steps are not easy when patrimonial or other attitudes can take your courage, your dreams, and freedom away. Let me give you two quick stories, if I may, that Duncan and I have shared. One is about social change, and the other is about how women's economic agency can be unlocked without necessarily a large government budget, but just community support, coaching, and the support of CSOs. So one was with respect to community engagement we did in Kisii around FGM. And it was there that Duncan, if I may, carried out a very, very powerful engagement with chiefs. And it was sponsored by the Honorable Doris Dunya, this community engagement. And what it unlocked was significant commitment by these chiefs to work within their community among all the participants, elders, schools, and all the people, and of course, the fathers, and of course, the girls, to find their voice and ensure they were part of a solutions building that involved the community all working together. And that was a very, very important moment, a very, very important and powerful moment for everyone. We call ourselves the Kisii Gang, do we not? The second is about the example of facilities that are underutilized for supporting women in starting that economic journey in agriculture. We talked about there was a particular facility that was underutilized. And really all it took was for those women to be able to walk in the door with sufficient coaching and support to be able to learn how to use these machines to wash their produce and package them effectively. And then to be able to sell them and to be able to create their own finances that would then build a collective and allow that to prosper. So those are the two stories that Duncan and I shared. Thank you again, Duncan. So let us all today talk practically about what we can design together. Think about the women in the community you may know and need to support, and where you can see the economic opportunity that can be unlocked. Let us all think of their needs, their voice, to bring that forward to our day-to-day actions for change. Thank you so much, and we're very proud to be part of this event.
Let's give him another round of applause. I now want to invite Lea Wangeshi. Is she here? Oh, okay, fantastic. Executive Director of CREW, which stands for Center for Rights, Education and Awareness. Let's give her a round of applause.
Thank you. Okay. Good morning, everyone. You can hear me? I'm very, very happy to be here this morning, and thank you, Daisy, the Crown Trust team, for putting this powerful forum together so that we can be able to reflect on what is working when it comes to women economic empowerment in Kenya. My name is Wangeshi Wachira. I work as the Executive Director of CREW. CREW stands for Center for Rights, Education and Awareness. And today, when I was coming here, I thought to myself, this meeting is talking about, this powerful forum is talking about women and economic empowerment. And I thought the most practical thing that I can be able to do is to share what, as an organization, we've been doing to support women in their endeavor around women economic empowerment. So the organization that we work for supports women who are survivors of gender-based violence. These are the most vulnerable, the most at risk, and I think the speakers who are here before, I think I heard Janine speak very powerfully around women having money in their hands and making choices when they have that money. So our work, and we know that as an organization, and the data that is in the country, out of 3 women, 1 of them is going through gender-based violence. So in this room, 3 of the women who are seated in this room, 1 of us is likely to be going through gender-based violence. And what does that mean? It means that then we must be able to do something to reach to the women and the young women, even young girls who are going through violence, so that then we can be able to bring change. So as an organization, working very closely with survivors of gender-based violence, we presented them in court. We got very, very good ruling. We did psychosocial support. And then they will come back and ask us, we have very, very good papers from courts, but how do we move from here? What do I do with these papers? They look good, the judgment is good, and we must support the legal work that is done in court. So in 2020, when we were navigating COVID, we set the first Women's Survivors Fund in the country, working closely with other women's rights organizations, Roots Kenya, CCGD. Why was that important to be able to set a Survivors Fund? It's because today, if a woman who is going through violence, then she tells me, where do I go from here? Then there is a place that I can fall back into. So we set this Survivors Fund, and what we did, we started working with 1,000 women in 10 counties in the country. And what we'll do is to be able to work with them, provide legal support, provide psychosocial support, but also ensure that they're able to free in an environment that is very, very abusive. So we'll do a cash management grant. But we went further because we also want to bring change. And we worked with one of the local banks in the country, and it hosted our fund. When the market rate is offering, what is the current interest rate? Someone in the room? Who has an ongoing facility in the room? How much is the current facility? How much is the banking rate for loans? Someone has said 20, another one has said 27. Wow. And other unhidden costs. So as an organization we thought, then access to credit is a big barrier, and a very, very big barrier. And if it's a survivor of violence, it also means it's another layer of barrier because she's freeing an environment that is abusive. She has no title deed. She has no any collateral to be able to be tagged on her. So we set this fund and working with a local bank, and we brought the interest rate at 8%. So when the market is at 19, 20%, we are 8%. And why are we looking at that? We are looking at the 8% is actually not for us to be able to get profit, but to be able to grow the fund so that other women who are survivors of gender-based violence can be able to access this fund. This fund, by its own name, is called Jasiri. We have a local name known as Jasiri. Jasiri is a Swahili name meaning bold. And our boldness is also going further because right now, we are now doing a scale-up of that important work. So beyond the 10 counties, we are now in 16 counties. And it's good that I mentioned the counties so that if you're in that county, then you can be able to refer a survivor of violence so that then they can be able to get the support. So the counties where we are in here in Nairobi County, and I already see our team that is working here. The team from Crew, please wave your hand so that we see you. You see the powerful women on that table? They will tell you about their story of Jasiri, yeah? We are in Kilifi County, we are in Mombasa County, we are in Meru County, we are in Nyeri, we are in Mandera, we are going to the hard to reach, we are in Busia, we are in Kajiado, we are in Kwale, we are in Baringo, we are in Kakamega, we are in Tana River, we are in Kiambu, we are in Garissa, and we are in Bungoma. That's almost half of the country, yeah? Because the country has 47 counties, and we are covering 16 counties. So we are almost getting to the half of the country. And our desire is that in the next 5 years, we are going to work with 26,000 survivors of gender-based violence and young women. We have also increased the fund so that more women can be able to benefit. And our desire, what is it that we are looking for? When women have access to money, they're able to have choices. Isn't it a fact? Yes. When women have money in their hands, they have choices. When women have money on their hands, they have their agency. You know, this country, they keep asking women, what do they bring to the table? We bring ourselves, but also there is something else that we are coming with. Because we have our voice, we have our agency, and we know what we want. So this program is really looking at how do we work with women? How do our women have choices? How do our women also be able to get to a place that they can be able to say, I have something that they're bringing to the table? But also important is that we are looking that this fund will continue to be below, it's going to continue to be 1 digit. What does 1 digit mean? 1 digit means that that credit is accessible, is that once you borrow, you have a grace period depending on the size of the facility, and you can be able to get from 20,000 to 1 million Kenya shillings. Sio itajenga biashara. Sio itajenga biashara. And women can be in a better place. But also is that beyond the money, there is mentorship. Very, very important. That beyond that, that the women will continue to get legal, psychosocial support. They will be able to continue getting skilling, which is very, very critical. And our target here, we are working with 18 to 35. You may say that this is discrimination, but don't we have affirmative action within affirmative action? It is important because we acknowledge that young women in this country has been difficult for them to get into employment, and employment that is dignifying, that they can be able to get to a job that they can say it is reputable, it's respectful, and when I stand even in front of my family members, I can be able to say that the job that I wake up to do in the morning, it's very, very reputable. This is exciting, and I know I can go on and on. But before I conclude, when we talk about women economic empowerment, for us, we are also looking at how do we address issues of sexual violence in the world of work? A number of women, because of sexual harassment, they keep navigating. What must we be able to do to bring change in the world of work? Is it policy? Is it system and structures? I think there is work that needs to be done. When you talk about women and work, are we talking about unpaid work? Do we acknowledge, do you know what is unpaid work? Every time when we leave at work in the evening, what do we go to do home? There is another unpaid work. We want that work to be acknowledged. We want it to be redistributed. We want it to be remunerated. We also want it to be co-shared so that women can have additional time so that they can also be able to engage in productive and where they're able to have money. Because we have said when women have money on their hands, they have their voice. Please remember this. When women have money, they have what? They have their voice, they have their agency, and what else? And they have choices. Those are the three words that I'm going to leave you with. And looking forward, if you're in a county that I have mentioned, and you have young women between the age of 18 to 35 who are looking for support, we are here, and you will also be able to hear testimony from the team that we've been working with. We have women who've been able to come with us, but also very, very important, we have a team from CREW who've been part of supporting this forum. So once again, Daisy and your team, thank you for putting this event together, and really looking forward to learning, to unlearning, and strengthening our work and our partnership. Thank you, and God bless you.
Let's give her a round of applause. I'll invite Diana Gishengo, the Institute for Social Accountability, also known as TISA. Let's give her a round of applause.
Viva women, viva. Viva women, viva. Forward with economic empowerment, forward. A very good morning to everyone coming after Wangeshi. Nguvu inapungua kidogo, but we will try. Thank you very much, Daisy and Crown Trust, for always convening us annually to remind us that the foundation of everything we hope to achieve in matters women economic empowerment, women in leadership starts with the economy. So I'll speak to what is working from the perspective of TISA. The Institute for Social Accountability, we are all about driving government priorities as they are dictated by citizens, and majority of those citizens are women. Now, squeezy napenda, I like to start my remarks with high taxpayers. Taxpayers, tusalimiane. You're here. Taxpayers are here. So I would like us to start by knowing that there are 12 million women taxpayers. So that is working. The government is collecting taxes from 12 million women. The total number of taxpayers that KRA targets is about 21. So we are the majority. Okay? That is very exciting, right? So the government thereafter let us look at what they do to us in the budget. After we are 11 million tax, we are 12 million. The upper limit, it's 11 point something, but call it 12 million. It's equivalent to our debt of 11 trillion. But after they collect our taxes, women are the majority taxpayers. They have a cabinet of 25 people, which is illegal. There are only 6 women. Okay? So what is working is that we are paying tax and men are using our taxes. That needs to stop. That needs to stop. We are majority voters, we are majority taxpayers. Then we move to the next step. They then create a budget. Next year's budget is about 4.2 trillion. Recently, our representatives were very happy when women were given 100 million for femicide only. And apparently it's supposed to run campaigns by our elected representatives instead of constructing shelters, rescue areas, and equipping women. Maybe hata hiyo pesa ipewe jasiri ya crew, but today is a... we must get our priorities right. In the last year, there were budget cuts around reproductive health. Meaning, we did away with free maternity care. We decided women who are majority taxpayers now need to pay and give birth to the other half through the Social Health Authority. Shisha. And women are not the biggest partakers of shisha. But they are majority. If you look at we are yet to get the actual breakdown of people who have signed out for shisha. Okay? But in the budget, we had budget cuts around that. We then cut the money for school feeding programs. Okay? Who packs lunch for children when they are going to school? Women, right? So if there is no food in school, who is affected? That is what is working for women economic empowerment. What that means is the burden on women's income has been stretched because they have to dig deeper and pay and meet more responsibilities. But the women are not sleeping. Those are some of the very extreme things that are working that I hope we can come together as women and address. But other things are working, and allow me to highlight some of the areas that we as TISA are working on. We work with women, informal traders in markets, and Kenya has introduced a policy that every new market that is constructed must have a nursery, must have a creche, must have toilets that are male and female, proper sanitation. We conducted a research that was analyzing what it takes. Wamama wa soko wako huku kina Rose, tuko hapa, na I hope mmeona PS mumwambie mahitaji ya wamama wa soko. There are a number of markets that have been introduced. And the first market that was introduced that had this type of innovation, we dismiss certain things. When there's an area where women can bring their children to be taken care of as they continue with their daily market work, that a child will report from school, come meet their mom who is selling things in the market, do their homework and go, is a great innovation. And so far, the Senate has passed that. It's a policy, and we are tracking the rollout. And I'm aware in Nairobi, Kiambu, Embu, Bomet, there are such markets. But I hope we can all come together to ensure that all our markets are responsive and cater for the needs of women. Previously, and I know these stories will be told by Wamama wa soko, women in a market like Kangemi, there are no toilets. If they are competing with a male trader, what will happen? The male trader will just arise and go by the corner. But the woman trader will have to take a 1-hour break to go and look for a forest. Now imagine, Beatrice, if it is that time of the month when they have their menstruation period. It even takes a longer time. So we want to reform our market economy because the majority of Kenyans, and especially women, work in market and are small-scale traders. So we are working closely, in particular, to test this with Makueni County Government, Kiambu County Government, and Vihiga. So those are some of the areas where, why is this working? It is working because women went and told their stories directly. And when women speak for themselves, there is no doubt. So for economic empowerment to work in this country, women must be allowed to be on the decision-making table, and their voice must be respected. We want all market committees to be women-led. I have not seen a single market in Kenya where the men were the majority. Finally, AGPO. AGPO has been working, and the Cabinet Secretary for Treasury did put in place measures to say that any particular tender or institution that is not complying with the 30% rule will not be allowed to go ahead with procurement. So in the last year, there was heightened enforcement of that particular regulation. It looks like it is working. But who is really the owner of capital of the person who bids? Those are the questions that we need to work on. Please look for the TISA desk. You will find our study on AGPO. But even as Treasury works to enforce, the details of how that enforcement can be done is with the State Department of Gender. The State Department of Gender has no cabinet secretary. Who will negotiate? That is an acting cabinet secretary. Let it go on record. It is not working because the president has refused to appoint a cabinet secretary responsible for gender in this country. It shows how insignificant our various differences, and particularly the needs of women and the place of women is to the Kenya Kwanza and the broad-based government. Women, we have been betrayed. We have been betrayed. Even the AU position. Kenya led the onslaught of making sure that it is a man. It was supposed to be a woman chairing the AU Commission. But we had to make excuses for male leadership. Women of Kenya, women of Africa. Tuamuke, we are majority taxpayers. Thank you very much.
Let's give her a round of applause. Amka, si amesema tuamke. Mnameka. Anyway, so our keynote address was supposed to be Professor Wanjiku Kabira. Unfortunately, she's not feeling well today. She's of University of Nairobi, African Women Studies Center, and she was to set precedents of why we're here today. But standing for her, or coming on her behalf, rather, is Dr. Dorothy Giraine, who's the Knowledge Management and Communication Coordinator, and she'll be able to read what Professor Wanjiru was going to share with us. Let's give her a round of applause. She'll be addressing it from there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'll be reading the speech for Professor Kabira from where I'm seated, so I hope you'll be able to follow it. Principal Secretary, State Department for Gender and Affirmative Action, Honorable Anne Wangombe, Deputy Chair, Kenya Women Parliamentary Association, that is KEWOPA, Honorable Beatrice Elachi, Deputy Governor, Central Bank of Kenya, Dr. Susan Koech, Executive Director, Crown Trust, Daisy Amdani, Head of Corporate Global Affairs, Canada, Ms. Janine Coker, invited guests, distinguished speakers and panelists, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It is a privilege to be here at the Women's Economic Forum, Kenya 2025, a forum which brings together key stakeholders to address the critical issue of women's economic empowerment with specific focus on what works. Now, women's economic empowerment, we normally refer to it as we, is not just a matter of fairness. It's a fundamental driver of inclusive economic growth. When women thrive economically, families, communities, and nations prosper. Yet, despite the progress, significant disparities remain. According to the UNICEF Women Economic Empowerment in Kenya Index 2020, only 29% of women aged between 15 and 49 years were empowered in 2014. As you may know, we at the Africans Women's Center, Study Center AWSC, and the Women's Economic Empowerment Hub at the University of Nairobi are particularly passionate about this question. I am excited that we carry it as our theme of the day, and I am grateful to Crown Trust and other partners for consistently organizing the Women's Economic Forum in Kenya, which is now in its 5th year. The forgotten middle, who we focus on today, are the women who form the backbone of our local economies. They are the market vendors, the small-scale farmers, the artisans, the entrepreneurs who work tirelessly, often juggling multiple responsibilities to provide for their families and contribute to their communities. To provide for their families also and contribute, yes, they possess incredible resilience and resourcefulness, navigating daily challenges with ingenuity and determination. Yet, they often operate in the shadows, lacking access to the very resources that could propel their businesses to the next level. Limited access to finance, restricted market access, and lack of targeted training are just some of the hurdles they face. Now, ladies and gentlemen, while there is certainly no shortage of goodwill and well-intentioned programs aimed at women's economic empowerment, too often these interventions fall short of their intended impact simply because they are not grounded on solid evidence. At the Women's Economic Empowerment Hub and African Women's Studies Center, we believe that effective empowerment strategies must be built on a foundation of rigorous research. Our mission is to generate data-driven insights that illuminate the path forward for women's economic empowerment in Kenya. We move beyond assumptions and rely on data to understand what truly works, what the real barriers are, and what kinds of interventions have the greatest impact. Through projects like Women's Incubation and National Alliance Building for Women's Economic Empowerment, referred to as NABWE, we are delving deep into the realities faced by women. Our focus is not just on producing academic papers, but on generating practical, actionable insights that can be used by policymakers, practitioners, and investors to create real change on the ground. However, research alone is not enough. We need action. And that's why I'm calling on all of us to partner for impact. To the government, we urge you to incorporate these research findings in your policies and programs. Invest in targeted interventions that address the specific needs of women in the forgotten middle, such as access to affordable finances. To the private sector, we call on you to partner with organizations like AWSC to develop and implement evidence-based programs that support women entrepreneurs within your supply chains and communities. Mentorship programs, access to markets, flexible financing options are just a few ways you can make a difference. To the NGOs and development partners, we encourage you to prioritize evidence-based approaches in your work and collaborate with research institutions to rigorously evaluate the impact of your intervention. Finally, and not the least, to the women entrepreneurs themselves. We encourage you to actively participate in research initiatives, share your experiences, and advocate for policies that support your needs. Your voices are crucial in shaping the solutions that will truly empower you. I extend my heartfelt gratitude to Crown Trust and its partners for creating a forum for us to share our research findings, for bringing women together for policy dialogues, and tirelessly work with NABWE and the County Women's Network. In conclusion, let me reiterate that empowering the forgotten middle is not just imperative, it's an economic imperative for our country. Women represent vast untapped resource, and by investing in evidence-based strategies, we can unlock their full potential, drive economic growth, and create a more prosperous future for us all. I am confident that by working together, researchers, policymakers, the private sector, NGOs, and the women themselves, we can translate research into action and build a truly inclusive economy. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Dorothy Jeraine. Thank you for standing in for the professor. I just want to say thank you to the guest speakers that spoke earlier. And a lot has been said, but the one thing I think I want to remember is we can note that we sit pretty well globally as women, but when we dissect on a continent level and a rural level, the conversation changes. So our question to you all, and to think whether you're coming as a male ally, whether you're a woman as in your own capacity, what are you doing within the society that you're in to change how we sit on a society level, on a community level. So I want to acknowledge you all in the room. Thank you for being so patient and listening to all the speeches. I want to recognize the presence of Millie Lwanga, Gender Advisor to Cabinet Secretary for Treasury and National Development. Yeah. And I'm going to give you all a health break of about 10 minutes so that we can prep for the next session. So for those who weren't here earlier, if you need to use the restrooms, they're just around the corner on this side of the room. If you need to just enjoy the view of a bit of the national park, both on this side, and I think even when you go to the toilets, there's a way you can grab a picture. And just to remind you all, please go on X, Facebook, LinkedIn, Crown Trust Kenya, and hashtag is WEFK 2025, or hashtag what works for we, so WEE, and then we'll be getting ready for the next stage and the next conversation. Thank you very much.
We wish to emphasize that we have called for a forensic audit of public debt that covers a very long term and that would give us the true picture of how debt has been acquired, how it has been utilized, and how moving forward we must ensure that public debt benefits the people.
Tasked by TISA to hold public barazas in our community.
Emphasize that we have called for a forensic audit of public debt that covers a very long term and that would give us the true picture of how debt has been acquired, how it has been utilized, and how moving forward we must ensure that public debt benefits the people.
Tasked by TISA to hold public barazas in our community.
we wish to emphasize that we have called for a forensic audit of public debt that covers a very long term and that would give us the true picture of how debt has been acquired, how it has been utilized, and how moving forward we must ensure that public debt benefits the people.
Tasked by TISA to hold public barazas in our community.
Emphasize that we have called for a forensic audit of public debt that covers a very long term and that would give us the true picture of how debt has been acquired, how it has been utilized, and how moving forward we must ensure that public debt benefits the people.
Tasked by TISA to hold public barazas in our community.
Emphasize that we have called for a forensic audit of public debt that covers a very long term and that would give us the true picture of how debt has been acquired, how it has been utilized, and how moving forward we must ensure that public debt benefits the people.
Tasked by TISA to hold public barazas in our community.
We wish to emphasize that we have called for a forensic audit of public debt that covers a very long term and that would give us the true picture of how debt has been acquired, how it has been utilized, and how moving forward we must ensure that public debt benefits the people.
Tasked by TISA to hold public barazas in our community.
emphasize that we have called for a forensic audit of public debt that covers a very long term and that would give us the true picture of how debt has been acquired, how it has been utilized, and how moving forward we must ensure that public debt benefits the people.
Tasked by TISA to hold public barazas in our community.
call for a forensic.
Please bring your tea, whatever you're snacking on. We want to proceed with the next event. And as you come in, scan the code on the screen, fill in the form. Kindly come with your tea and your food. You can continue your connections later. Ushers, kindly assist me to usher each table. I'm gonna come and pick on you. Thank you. Please go into the apple, if you're just taking your apple. Go with your tea. Yeah, because now what are we gonna do? I can't stop them. Kindly come into the room. For those who've just entered, if you can scan the code for me and fill the form, much appreciated. If you've just come in, please take your phone out, fill the form. Ushers, I need assistance. And for the team, the speakers for the next session. If you've just come in, please scan the code on the screen and fill the form for us. We'll truly appreciate. We expect 146 of you to fill that form. And if you're watching online, you can also do the same. Just type in the link. I think it'll be easier. Yeah, I'm just gonna pick on you. Please go in. Please go in. You want to begin? Kindly, ladies, go in if it's okay. We want to see. Oh. Sorry. Invite you to go in, please. Can I invite you to continue the conversation inside, please? Can I invite you to go in, please? I'd like to invite you to go in, please. Kindly. Instead of helping me, you're buying stuff. Please. Please. All right, so if you've just walked into the room, please take out your phone, 2 minutes of your time, scan the code on the screen, fill in the form for us. No, you're fine. you. Again, just a reminder, if you've just come in, please fill in the form by scanning the code on the screen. If you've just come in, please take out your phone, scan the QR code, and fill that form for us. Thank you.
She's from ACC. Then she joined the meeting. So sijika unaweza connect na mtu wote. Yeah.
Thank you. Get all the speakers on the seat.
Okay.
Because that, so then now Dr. Dorothy just comes on. So can you get all the speakers?
All right.
Yeah, to avoid that. Gonna be open. Can you make an announcement? If you can just wrap it up with your tea. Okay, if you've just come in, please scan your code. I'd like to invite the moderator to just be on stage for me, or close by, for this next session. And for the sake of time, can the panelists of this session just sit on stage for me? Yeah, just go on stage. If you're a panelist for this stage, can I just invite you to just be on stage already? Yeah, please just go on stage and then it will be easier. Brenda, can I talk to you? Just go on stage, it's okay. Just go. Oh, yeah, okay. Just stay. You don't? Oh, so what? Then I can give you my mind. Because of where's mine? How you feeling? Great. High five your neighbor. Say, neighbor, I am feeling great. I'm looking great. I am filled with greatness. Yeah. Okay. So we're going to have the next session, and I'd like to invite you all to listen to this amazing talk. So all eyes and ears towards the center of the stage. So the conversation that's about to happen is on the research findings on what works for women economic empowerment. And this conversation will be led by Dr. Mary Goretti Akinyi. She's a senior lecturer and academic lead for African Women's Studies Center session. So can we give her a round of applause? So she'll be leading the session. Mmekunywa chai? Aya, can we feel the energy? Can we give her some energy? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Hi, good people. Hi. Hi. Thank you so much. I welcome you to this panel discussion by the University of Nairobi based on the researches we have done on women economic empowerment. I would ask each one of them, the ones that do not have their bios, just briefly tell us what they do at the university, specifically Women Economic Empowerment Hub. And I'll start with my senior, Professor Mary Mbithi. Just 1 second, tell us who you are.
My name is Mary Mbithi, and I'm a professor of economics at the Department of Economics and Development Studies of University of Nairobi, but I'm also the director of research at the Women's Economic Empowerment Hub, where we are going to tell you what we've been up to in the last 4 years. We'll be giving you the evidence that shows it works. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. to Dr. Dorothy Njiraine.
Good morning once again. As you've heard, I'm Njiraine Dorothy. I work at the University of Nairobi. I teach at the Department of Library and Information Science. I'm also the chairperson of that department. At African Women's Studies Center Women's Economic Empowerment Program, I am the Knowledge Management Coordinator, and I take charge of all the research findings that Professor Mbithi has said. I ensure that it reaches the targeted audience in the right format, at the right time, and for the right purpose. Thank you.
Thank you, Doc. Can I have Brenda Akoth introduce herself?
Good morning. My name is Brenda Akoth. I'm a research fellow at the African Women's Studies Center, University of Nairobi, Women's Economic Empowerment Hub. I'm also the Secretary Assistant to Dr. Agnes Beroka in the project Networking and Alliance Building for Women's Economic Empowerment. Thank you.
Thank you, Brenda. With us, we have Beatrice Kamau in the place of Dr. Nikatha as per the program. Beatrice, tell us who you are.
Good afternoon, everyone. Is it afternoon or morning? My name is Beatrice Kamau. For those ones who don't know me, I have met with most of the people here. I'm a women rights defender. I'm the executive director of Women Political Alliance, co-chair of Women in Leadership and Decision Making, and also a researcher with the University of Nairobi. Thank you.
Thank you, Beatrice. Last but not least, okay, clap for her, appreciate. Thank you so much. Last but not least, we have Ruth Wamuyu. Kindly please share with us your introduction.
Thank you and good morning, everyone. Wamuyu Ruth is my name. I am a researcher with the African Women's Studies Center, Women's Economic Empowerment Hub. And in this forum, I am representing Professor Tabitha Kereti-Ng'ang'a, who was the principal investigator of one of the projects that we will be talking about. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. May I welcome you to this forum? And I'll start by asking you, each one of you take a minute to give us a brief about your project, when it started and when it's likely to come to an end, or if it has ended. Thank you. I'll start from here.
Thank you so much once again for the opportunity to share with all of us what we have been doing in NABWI, that is Networking and Alliance Building for Women's Economic Empowerment, for the last 4.5 years, almost. Yes. So, the Networking and Alliance Building for Women's Economic Empowerment is one of the projects of the University of Nairobi Women's Economic Empowerment Hub. The project aims to evaluate what works for we in networking and alliance building by utilizing the best practices for women's self-mobilization in influencing policies, programs, and regulations for we. So this is a network of women leaders, women's rights advocates, and women's organizations that are champions for we. So it's a network, it's a platform where all these people converge to deliberate on we policies and to influence those policies. So by building a network of women leaders and women's rights advocates, NABWI, in short, aims to create a safe space, a space where women can use evidence-based research, evidence that is generated through research to self-advocate for women's economic empowerment. That's basically what we do in WE. But again, we are replicating, okay? We are replicating the strategies that women used during the constitution-making process in 2010. The women leaders and the women pathfinders, people like, women like Professor Julia Ojiambo, Ida Odinga, and all those women pathfinders, the strategies that they used then during the constitution making process in 2010, the strategies they used so that they could realize the gains in the constitution, the same strategies are being replicated in NABWI to realize a strong women's movement.
Thank you for that. Can you hear from Professor Biti?
Thank you, and very briefly, I would like you to watch a small video that will tell you what we've been doing in one of the projects. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Can you hear from Beatrice?
So our market is an open air market. I started going there with my kid when he was 4 months old. While counting the fish, I just realized that the baby is not there. As a mother, we just feel that my kid is not around. I decided to leave and go for my baby. He was under the truck. Coming back, my employer told me, I'm not going to pay you. The customer has refused. He doesn't want you to do the recounting, so I'm going to get another person to do your work, so you can just live with your baby, since you see that your baby is more important than the business. Imagine walking, you're hungry with a baby, you've lost your job. Nobody at the market could employ you with your baby because your mind is just on your baby. It's not on his or her business.
Habari ya wamama?
Nzuri sana.
Kwa jina naitwa Mary Mbithi kutoka Chuo Kikuu cha Nairobi, na tunashirikiana na CCGD kwa kuendelesha ile Child Care Center ambayo wengi wenu mnaleta watoto huko.
Together with partners, we've started a child care, which we are testing in Busia County. We are looking at if women are able to access child care, which is affordable and of high quality, you know, how does that impact on their businesses?
I like chapati.
I used to go at the market at 8:30 a.m., 9 a.m. You find that everybody has already sold the commodities. But when the daycare came, I started going at the market early because my husband used to take my kid at the daycare early in the morning. So going early at the market started giving me a morale of working as a fishmonger, as a fish exporter, because you do the catch-up of the customers because they normally come at the market early. When I started the business, I had a capital of 15,000 Kenyan shillings. I moved on to 50. I moved to 100. At this moment, I'm at 320,000 Kenyan shillings that I'm working over it. I started working by myself. I used to be the employer and the employee at the same time. But right now, I've employed 3 people, 1 young man, 2 aged mother, and a youth lady.
My biggest hope is that women can be able to access a childcare facility which is of high quality and which is accessible, meaning it's affordable to them, because that gives them opportunity to engage in business opportunity. Somebody like Veronica has been able to expand their business, to grow their business, and even to export to DRC. So there are opportunities, and women all over Kenya, if they can be able to access childcare facilities which are of high quality, that is good for themselves as women, for the family, for the county, and also for the economy of Kenya.
Oh, thank you very much. I am here representing Dr. Nkatha, and we were working on the project which we call Impact of the Social Protection. And in this project, we were evaluating Kenya's government stimulus packages, and it started in 2020 at the height of COVID. And we wanted, at the height of COVID, people realized that the social protection in Kenya, we wanted to test whether it was working. You can all remember that even those ones who can fly out were not able to fly out. and we were all locked here, and everybody didn't know what was happening. So we decided to evaluate the packages that the government had. So we also evaluated the implementation of the Employment Act, and also we analyzed the status of women in labor force in Kenya. These projects are still ongoing, although because it was supposed to end this year, but it has not ended because from the work that we did on the social protection, we were asked to help the government to come up with the social protection bill, which we went around the country, we got views, and as of now we have the bill. It is still being worked on. It has gone through the executive, and it has gone back to the AG, and we are still working on it. In this project, we are supposed to look at, evaluate what is happening, what is working, and from the results that came out was that there was a lot of disconnection in the social protection. Although the government has come up with many packages, we found that there was a disconnection. We also analyzed the Kazi Mtaani, which was a project that resulted, or was an ad hoc project that came because of COVID-19. And the result was that it had a big impact because it helped many people. We also have been working on the SME, Small Enterprise Bill, which also impacts on women, especially on the areas of funding, or also access to finances. Thank you. I think I will talk more about that when I'm given another chance.
Thank you so much, Beatrice. Can you hear from Ruth?
Thank you so much, Dr. And I am here to talk about the Access to Government Procurement Opportunity Program, which we call AGPO, and I want to believe that all of us are aware of that program, which is an affirmative action a program that was initiated by the government back in 2013 to facilitate women, the youth, and the persons living with disabilities to be able to access tenders and to do business with the government. And so in the year 2023, in the month of August, we embarked on a research, and we wanted to understand, or rather, our research was about, we want to make AGPO work for women in Kenya for creation of employment, increased technology transfer, and a promotion of local industries. We most likely, a majority of us here may not be aware what is the purpose or what are the aims of the AGPO program. So there are three. That is creation of employment, technology transfer, and promotion of local industries. That is the sole purpose for which AGPO program was created by the government. And so what we did in 2023, our research focused on the implementers. And by implementers, we mean the people, you know, the government officials, the procurement officers, the accounting officers, the finance officers, the ones who are implementing this program from the government side. We wanted to hear what were their views concerning this program, how can we make it work for women? Because previously, there has been several studies that have been done, and they have focused mostly on the beneficiaries. And so this time around, we wanted to hear from the implementers themselves, how do they think we can improve and make this program work for women? And so that is what I'll be talking about. Thank you.
Thank you, Ruth. Can you hear from Daktari?
Thank you very much. I think being the last and not the least, I think it was kind of intentional because you've heard all what is happening at the WeHub and African Women Studies Center. And what the AWSC, I'll be referring to African Women Studies Center as AWSC. And when you hear me mention Women's Economic Empowerment Hub, I'll be just speaking as WeHub. Now, we realize that there is so much data out of the research conducted. And so the only way to make it effective was to have a unit for managing that knowledge and disseminating it. And that's why we started this knowledge management and communication unit. So for me, I would just be informing you of how the strategies we've been making, and also how we've been engaging media to ensure that what has been done reaches the targeted audience. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much. Ruth, can you tell us what you learned from the project and what was the greatest surprise you got from there? And are there policy gaps and what can we do about them?
Thank you so much. Yes, our research study revealed very many things, but perhaps I'll just pick a few in the interest of time. One of the things that the procurement entities, procuring entities are supposed to do is reserve the 30% in their budgets for. They're supposed to reserve 30% in their budgets for the AGPO program. And so you find that, which was also our problem statement to begin with, that is still not happening. Okay? So they are required to, but they do not. They do not comply with that regulation or that requirement. Secondly, they also do not, in terms of when they are reporting, they do not, the reporting system does not require them to give gender disaggregated data and age disaggregated data, such that when you go to the youth, the category of youth, you cannot tell how many are men and how many are women. When you go to the category of the persons living with disabilities, you cannot tell who is a female and who is a male. So there is no requirement, and in this age and day, we really need that kind of information to help us make informed policies. So that is lacking, and one of the things that the implementers kept telling us is that the reporting template does not require them to, yet they are willing to provide that information. So that was another interesting thing, that they are willing, but this template does not require us to, so we do not provide that information. The other thing that we found is that the AGPO program does not have a monitoring and evaluation framework, such that I mentioned that the 3 aims of AGPO is creation of employment, it is technology transfer, and promotion of local industries. But as it is, this is about 11 years down the line, because AGPO started in 2013, we cannot really tell the impact of AGPO, simply because we don't have an M&E framework. And one of the things that we are proposing is that we need to develop this framework, and we are willing to work, the AWSC and AWSC we have, together with the Public Procurement Regulatory Authority, we are willing to embark on this journey where we can develop an M&E framework so that we are able to measure the impact of this greater program. The other thing that we'll talk about, just one more, Daktari, is on the issue of pending bills, which continues to be a big challenge for the procuring entities. And one of the things that they kept proposing, I mentioned that we went for the implementing agencies so that they can give us what do they think are the solutions to the problems ailing this program. And so there was the issue of a creation of a fund that can be utilized by the beneficiaries, or rather the women and the youth and the PWDs who go for these tenders, to be able to finance their tenders.
Thank you so much. Beatrice, you have said so much. Can we hear from Brenda what you learned from?
Beatrice or Brenda?
Brenda, you had shared with us the question I've just asked. So can we hear from Brenda? Then I'll give you another chance. Okay, thank you.
Thanks a lot, Daktari. So I think I did not mention that the project or the program, Networking and Alliance Building for Women's Economic Empowerment, began way in 2022. That's when we thought that there had been a lot of research done by the hub, but without without documentation, not really documentation, but without an action, especially from the grassroots. We needed to involve women in this advocacy work. So we thought it would be wise to form a network of women that would propel, that would move forward the We agenda right from the grassroots. So as we speak here right now, we have women representative coordinators from different counties. There's Jane Kamwaga. Thank you so much, coordinator from Murang'a County. There's Wangari. Wangari is from Nairobi County. Wangari, just raise up your hand. She's a member of the network. There's Joy Kiambati, as she arrived. They are members of this network that ought to be here, but maybe they are on their way coming. Yeah, so the network has really grown, and we have over 10,000 women in the network who Daisy Amdani, a very critical member of the network. Daisy Amdani, yes. So we have a network, a very strong network of women who are able to advocate for we-friendly policies from the grassroots, so that women are able to know, to be aware of these policies. So you asked me about some of the findings that we have. Yes. So first of all, we established the network, first of all, and then we came up to find out their level of awareness, okay? So when we tried to find out women's level of awareness of we policies, women's rights, we realized that there is a high level of awareness of we policies. In fact, women are aware of what policy advocacy is in the first place, its significance in advocacy for women-friendly policies, and they are utilizing that strategy. Remember, I said we are replicating the strategies that worked for women during the constitution-making process, and one of those strategies that women used then was policy advocacy. Another one is self-mobilization. They mobilized themselves. They knew what they wanted, and they moved forward to look for what they wanted, and indeed they got it in the new constitution. So after realizing that women are aware of these policies, and they are aware of the significance of policy advocacy. In fact, they are aware of the affirmative action. You know, the policies like affirmative action policies. They are aware of the social protection policies. I'm not so sure if the team there can project. Last year, 2024, the women went to, they gave their voice on the social protection policy during public participation. They went and gave their voices, and it was incorporated. So that is one of the things that we came to realize, that they are aware and they are able to go out and participate when calls for public participations are made.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Can we hear from Prof? Time is running out. I'll give you the last moment to wind up.
Thank you very much, Chair. The program, which was testing what works in childcare for women economic empowerment, we've seen a small video about it. We found out that when small-scale women traders are able to access affordable and quality childcare, they spend more time in their businesses. And it's not just spending more time in their businesses, because that more time translates into increase in sales turnover, so they sell more per month. Secondly, their profits seem to go higher. And thirdly, they participate more in the networks. And even before coming to the networks, this study was done at the border of Kenya and Uganda, at Busia border, because of the opportunities that open with the regional trade, ESC, COMESA, the African Continental Free Trade Area, and we have so many women that are engaged in those activities. So what we found is these women can cross the border more often to buy the goods or to sell on the other side of the border, and they can even go beyond the border itself, the border market, to other markets within Busia, and therefore that is what translates into more sales and also into higher profit. And we also found that they spend more time in networks and they worry less at the border, they said, we worry about child trafficking. That's what they were telling us. And they were telling us, even when we're in the market here, the child is running around, a motorbike is passing here. So we realized when they leave the child in the child care center, their health as a promise. We also found that they have more agency at home. They make more money. They can make decisions on how the money can be used for the family. And we also found that there's likely to be a shift in gender norms regarding childcare. Because we found that the father started coming along with the baby when the mom has gone to the market earlier. And with that, when also coming to pick the baby, because mama is still in the market, and when they get home, then they ask the child wants to eat. So they decide, maybe I can cook for the baby. And as they cook for the baby, what is happening? They're also cooking for the family. And we realize that family relations have become better. Thank you.
Wow. Okay, Beatrice.
Yeah, thank you. I think I had mentioned
less than a minute, yes.
Yeah, less than a minute. I had mentioned the things in social protection, but I think for more clearance, it's good to mention that in social protection, that's where you find Inua Jamii, you find cash transfer, and during our research, we found out that that 2,000 that is given to Inua Jamii, that is the people with severe disability and also the elders, was very helpful because it gives them food. It even educates the children of the elderly, and it has a lot of work that it does. We also found out that during COVID, this money was very instrumental because it came in at the right time. We also found out that the money is not enough because 2,000 really, what can you do with it? But it is not enough, but it is better than nothing. We also found that there was no coordinated mechanism in the social protection of how they get money. Sometimes the money could stay for 8 months without coming, and then it comes as a lump sum, and then there were also other challenges. Then when it came to people with disability, they were only dealing with people with severe disability. They were not taking care of their caregivers. Yet these people with severe disability need permanent caregivers, and therefore this work falls on the women, and therefore that needed to be done. So the other one was the lack of coherence in the existing social assistance intervention to the targeted small groups. We found that even those people, even the elderly, sometimes would not be able to access this funding, or would not be able to know because there is only one officer, probably in a constituency or in a county. So even to go and get registered was a problem for these people. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm being told our time is up, but not yet up, because we are now giving it to the floor to seek clarification from the findings you've just heard from our panelists.
I'm only going to take 2 questions, one from this side, one from this side. So who's going first? There's one there and there's one here. Let me start with the one closest to me.
That is Women Ally, Njoroge.
Thank you very much. Actually, what I just wanted to say is that because I've interacted with the work of WeHub, it would be a disservice if we don't talk about the work that WeHub has done on women incubation and what is working. So I really wish, even if it's a sentence, because I can see Ruth there and Beatrice, to at least mention some work around that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, thank you. Ruth, you'll talk about incubation in just 1 minute after that.
Thank you very much. My question is for Professor Mary Mbiti. Really amazing work in childcare. So my question for you is, in your experience, as you implement this project and as childcare is coming up in terms of how we can support women's economic empowerment, what, in your own experience, are we as stakeholders in our duty of care not doing to ensure that we are taking these services to the women that need it most? Thank you.
Thank you.
That's
Any
it.
other?
That's it. Those are the two questions.
Okay, as you take it there, I would like to tell you that Njoroge's question will be addressed in the next panel about the incubation,
Okay.
which
I
we
can
are
take one more
undertaking.
question.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. My name is Vexina Mweni. I work in Machakos with NEMA Foundation. And my question goes to the we. Now that you are doing economic empowerment to women, we understand we are in era whereby climate change is a problem to this country. And we know most of the women are affected by climate change when it comes to loss, damage, and misplacement. We understand most of the women in business, in small-scale businesses, once they incur damages, they lose their properties, they lose a lot of, they get displaced, and they end up even starting afresh. Have you done a research on the same, and if yes or no, what are your plans to address issues of loss and damage when it comes to women in small-scale businesses? Thank you.
Thank you. Can we start with Njiraine on the issue of climate change, which has been asked? Then Professor Mbithi will respond to what was asked earlier.
Thank you. I didn't get the question on climate change.
She was asking whether we have done any research.
Oh yes, we've done the research. That one is it's a new program as we speak, and we've not yet, we are still in process. It's an ongoing research. So maybe for now, we cannot give conclusive conclusion.
Next year, Hamdan allows, we shall share with you the findings on the same. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Professor.
Thank you. I think the question is, what are we not doing? And I think if we had time, that was what I was to speak to. But what are we not doing? We do not have, public policies that speak to the child care, because child care really concerns children that are below 4 years. You know, the education system and policy in Kenya starts from 4 years when the children start going to PP1 and so on and so on. So that is one thing we've not done. We've not addressed the issue of concern for those small babies before 4 years and who are not able to go to to school. Now, there are two key things because of lack of that particular policy. One, we find that childcare centers still exist. You know, that mama in the estate who opens a one room to take care of the children. There are so many private, such small-scale childcare centers. But then the question is, when you talk to people, they were saying the quality. And then we tell them, so if the quality is not what you like, are you able to find a better one? They say, yes, there are others, although few, but they are too expensive. And that's why we are talking of quality and we are talking of affordability. So the main concern here is we need public policy where government supports, the child care or children of that age for those mothers that are willing to take their child, who want somebody to mind their baby as they go to work or as they go to trade, and they may not be able to afford a house help, or they may not have somebody to take care of the children. So this policy should also speak to the funding priorities for the child care so that they become affordable. And secondly, they should guide with regards to standards and operating procedures. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. I'm being told our time is up, but just before they stand, can we ask each one of them to just take a second to tell us way forward with their projects?
Keep
I'll
it
start
20 seconds each.
A second each, way forward with our projects. Dr. Njiraine, a second each, promise.
Thank you very much. I think I'll just take a second already. The way forward is to ensure that we, both the stakeholders and women at the grassroots, be on board. You know, we be on one path, one platform. And also as we at the AWSC, I would urge everyone to just visit our website, visit our repository, and see what this has been said. That's where it is. Even YouTube, please ensure that you visit the YouTube. Everything is there for your use. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ruth.
Thank you. Regarding AGPO, I want to say that we must make AGPO work for the target groups. And as we make AGPO work, we must be able to tell what is the impact of this program. And because of that, we must develop a monitoring and evaluation framework, and that will call for partnership and collaboration between the different institutions, the government and the private sector, so that we are able to develop that framework. Thank you.
Thank you. Beatrice.
Okay, way forward for social protection. It touches on all of us. So we push for that bill to be passed, and once it is passed, we push for its implementation. If we push for the implementation of social protection bill to become law and then to be implemented, half of the women's and cared work will be, that burden will be taken away from women. So over to you women to just make sure that your member of parliament will pass that bill and make it to law. And once it is passed, it is upon you to ensure that it's working. Even she and Sha are part of this. Thank you.
Thank you. Professor?
Thank you. The way forward is that childcare works, and therefore there is need to advocate for childcare facilities at all the markets at the county level, as well as at the cross-border trade infrastructure that are being developed. And lastly, it is good that the policies also are developed at the county level, because this is a default function. Thank you.
Thank you. Brenda, a second.
Thank you. In networking and alliance building for women's economic empowerment works, we look forward to an integrated network encompassing young women and older women, who young women can learn from the older women, and together they can build a strong and sustainable network to advocate for we-friendly policies.
Thank you so much. You've heard what our panelists have said. One, we create safe spaces for our mothers in the marketplace so that they get more time. And you have heard that when there is such kind of activity in the market, it improves gender relations in the family, and men allies are becoming more and more. Secondly, AGPO needs to have a monitoring and evaluation wing so that we know where women are and where youth are, who are boys. The reason being there is no gender disaggregated data, so we don't know what is working. And lastly, the need for grassroots. As you've seen, the center has created network from the grassroots. You've had Muranga, you've had Busia, you've had all these women from the grassroots, and that is the way to go, so that they don't say we are always in Nairobi talking about them. And lastly, we should borrow from women from Ghana, Amakola Market in Accra, where women are the ones who are in the chair, they are the ones organizing activities in the market, and they are really doing very well. And up to, as we speak now, they have modern market in their place where you can even spend a night there. You don't have to go home. Thank you very much. I appreciate the panelists for the input. Can we give them appreciation? Thank you.
Please don't move. I want to take up you guys to have a picture taken. So just come forward in front of the tables. I need assistance. Push this one to the side or to the floor. It's heavy. Don't touch it. It's heavy.
The University of Nairobi Women's Economic Empowerment Hub is a research hub established through the partnership between the University of Nairobi and Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. The WeHub was officially launched on December 16, 2020, and is domiciled at the African Women's Studies Center in the Department of Sociology and Social Work and African Women's Studies. Our mission is to be a thought leader in producing cutting-edge, innovative, rigorous, and accessible evidence through research for impacting policy formulation, implementation, and upscaling for full realization of women's empowerment. At the WeHub, we produce cutting-edge, innovative, rigorous, and accessible research in affirmative action funds and entrepreneurship, women in formal and informal employment, and women's economic empowerment, childcare and women's work, and women's movement and policy advocacy for women's economic empowerment. We are a multidisciplinary and multi-sectoral entity that serves as a research and evidence hub with the aim of strengthening the generation and use of evidence to advance women's economic empowerment and gender equality in Kenya. Our work is focused around 4 broad program areas. 1. Affirmative action funds and entrepreneurship. 2. Women in formal and
what works for women, WEE. So now I want to invite all the panelists for the next conversation. I want to invite all the panelists for the next conversation. Brenda Gitao, Beldin Kirito, Susan Mugambi. We can just come on stage. Yes, just come on stage. Please take a seat. And the moderator to just wait for me here. Can we give them a round of applause? I think they need some oomph and energy, if they have nerves. Well done. I believe that's it. So, okay, yeah, you can sit. You'll sit in the middle. So I'll let you get in first. Thank you. Do you want to address it while seated, or? Oh, sorry. Okay, so. You guys will keep this. I'll just switch it off for now. Hello. Let's give a round of applause to Mrs. Rose Marete, the Program Coordinator of Women's Business Incubation Program, and she'll be the panel moderator. And she'll first start by doing a presentation and then chairing the conversation. So you can use this to begin with.
Good morning, everyone. I'm so delighted to be here this morning and to just share some findings from one of projects for women economic empowerment in University of Nairobi. And I will straight away go to just do a small presentation before I engage my panelists, and I'm looking for Beldin. One of the panelists should be here. So I'm excited this morning to present the brief work what one of our colleagues was asking this morning about a program we call Women Economic Empowerment, have Women Business Incubation Project at the University of Nairobi. And the project was necessitated, had given some slides to be, okay, it's okay, I can just continue. ICT, Kaide? Yeah. Thank you. So, thank you so much. So the project on women business incubation at the WeHub in Western Nairobi, the objective is to evaluate the effectiveness of business incubation on women enterprises business. And what happened is that the university realized that there was untapped potential of women entrepreneurs in Kenya. And the university, Women Economic Empowerment Hub, funded by Bill and Melinda Gates, launched the Women Business Incubation way back in 2021. This was a transformative initiatives that has been there. We've been working with the program for the last 3 years, and the aim was to identify effective intervention to promote growth in women-owned enterprises while advocating for evidence-based policies. And the objectives of the Women Business Incubation are projects where we're incubating women-led individual businesses and women group businesses. The overriding objective is to assess the extent to which women-focused incubation model contribute to the growth of businesses in Kenya, or women businesses in Kenya. And specifically, it aims to develop women-focused business incubation model targeting women enterprises. Women businesses are totally different, not really different. When women are business, especially at the grassroots level, you find that they go through a lot of challenges as compared with men. And so the aim was to develop a model that is targeting women enterprises, especially the women who are doing business individually or as collectives or as groups, in other words. So we wanted to test the incubation model and evaluate the extent to which it contributes to the growth of women businesses, and use these findings to advocate for policy and utilization of women businesses incubation for the growth of women business. And therefore, we have decided to develop this model, and for them to come up